You ever have that feeling where you know something is true, like in your head, but you just don't feel it in your gut? It's this strange gap, right, between knowing a fact and really truly believing it. Well, it turns out there's this incredible idea from way back in the 19th century that just completely unpacks this whole thing. It's kind of like when a doctor tells you all the scariest statistics about smoking. You hear them, you understand them, but the reality of it all doesn't really hit home until maybe you see it affect someone you know. You've got the information, but you don't have the conviction. And there's actually a name for that, and a brilliant way to think about it. So this thinker, John Henry Newman, he figured out where this whole process starts. And it's in that very first moment our mind just grabs onto an idea. This is even before we decide if we believe it or not. And it turns out there are two completely different ways our brains can do this. He called this initial grab apprehension. All it means is your mind taking hold of a concept. Simple enough, right? Like you hearing me say, the sky is blue. You just apprehended that. But the way you apprehend it, that's what changes everything. And here are the two big categories. First, you've got notional apprehension. This is all about abstract stuff, concepts. Thinking about the definition of justice or the theory of gravity, it's all up in your head. But the second one, real apprehension, is totally different. This isn't about the idea of justice. It's about that vivid memory you have of seeing someone do something truly fair. It's concrete, it's personal, it hits you in a completely different way. So for a notional example, Newman talks about a Stoic philosopher thinking about the perfect man, this ideal person who is totally just and firm in his purpose. And yeah, it's a really noble idea, a powerful principle, but it's still just a concept, right? It's a blueprint, not an actual person you could meet. Now contrast that with how a Christian might apprehend the story of the Passion. That's not some abstract principle. It is a story, a sequence of events with real people and powerful images and actual things happening. It's a story you can picture, that you can feel. And that is the power of real apprehension. It taps right into our experiences and our imagination. Okay, so we've got these two ways of grabbing an idea. But what about when we actually decide to believe it? Well, this next part, which Newman calls assent, is where things start to get really interesting and kind of counterintuitive. Now here's the wild part. According to this framework, you can't just kinda believe something. Belief, what he calls assent, is absolute. It's an on or off switch. You either accept an idea as true or you don't. There is no middle ground. But hold on a second. That brings up a huge question, doesn't it? Because we all talk about having strong beliefs or weak beliefs. If belief is just on or off, how can that be possible? What explains that powerful feeling of conviction we have for some ideas, but that sort of lukewarm feeling we have for others? And the answer is just so elegant. The strength that we feel isn't in the belief itself. Remember, that's always on or off. It's all about the foundation. It's about what that belief is built on. A belief built on a real, concrete experience, a powerful story, a vivid memory, is just naturally going to feel way more impactful than one built on a dry, abstract idea. This whole idea gets even clearer when you put belief up against pure logic. So we've got assent on one side, which is our belief, and on the other, we have inference, which is just the step-by-step process of logical reasoning. Now, part of the reason we get these things mixed up is that believing in an abstract idea, that's a notional assent, can look an awful lot like a logical conclusion from the outside. I mean, they're both dealing with concepts and ideas. But on the inside, in our minds, they are two totally different things. And you can really see the difference here. Assent, our belief, is absolute, and it's all about the truth of the idea itself. And it's at its most powerful when it's grounded in something real. But logic, inference, is pretty much the opposite. Its strength can vary, right? You can have a weak argument or a strong one. And it lives almost entirely in the abstract world of notions. So what happens when we put all these pieces together? We've got real versus notional ideas and belief versus logic. Well, we end up with this incredible paradox about how our deepest convictions actually work. Okay, just think it through for a second. The best, most perfect, logical arguments. Think about math or something. They work best with clean, abstract concepts. But our most powerful, most intense personal beliefs, those are almost always rooted in specific, concrete, real experiences. You see the problem? The very thing that makes logic crystal clear is the opposite of what makes a belief feel unshakable. And this leads us to the core paradox. He says when inference is clearest, assent may be least forcible, and when assent is most intense, inference may be least distinct. In other words, the moment of perfect logical clarity can be the exact same moment you feel the least personal conviction. And on the flip side, those intense, gut-level beliefs we have, they might be the absolute hardest things to prove with logic. They can literally pull in opposite directions. So why does any of this matter today? Well, because it gives us the language to understand so many things we all experience. It finally explains why the most perfect logical argument can completely fail to change someone's mind. It shows why a personal story, a lived experience, is often so much more powerful than a spreadsheet full of data. It shines a light on that fundamental tension between just knowing an idea and deeply holding a belief. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Pick one of your own core beliefs, something you really truly hold to be true. Now ask yourself, is that belief rooted in a flawless logical argument, something purely notional? Or is it tied to a specific story, a person, a memory, something deeply real? The answer might just reveal the hidden logic of your own conviction.